Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing incredible, like more than incredible, and that you're all having a wonderful day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We have, for whatever reason or another, entered into what I'm calling patterns. You might have noticed the last couple, like a week or so, for some reason, everyone's following a pattern, looking for a pattern. That is to say, we have currently, now broken out of the normal pattern that we pattern ourselves into. I keep trying to use the word pattern, it's not working. The point is, as I've mentioned a couple of other times in other videos, we are early. We are actually quite early, especially from before, when it comes to the current movements that we're actually seeing within the market, as we still not have gotten to the actual halving. So a lot of people, you might have noticed the last couple of videos, are now looking for what the market did before as an indication to where it might go in the future. Everyone kind of comes up with relatively the same numbers, which is kind of nice, simply because I think if they were too far across a very wide spectrum, it would be like, oh boy, where's the market going to actually? But most of them, 80% of them tend to have the same general numbers, even when looking at their own individual charts. So what usually happens is that Bitcoin's price stagnates, tends to go sideways. The market gets very bored. The halving happens. The market goes up a little bit, and then we have this. The normal number that people throw out there is the 18-month period of prices basically going up. For those of you who missed, this was about 4 or 5 videos ago. There were projections already for exactly how long this bull run is going to go for. And I think the projections that were thrown out there is that it'll probably end around, I think it was September, October of 2025. That's kind of when they're expecting the crescendo based off of the movements of the other previous bull runs that we've had before within the space. So now everyone's trying to figure out where prices will be by the halving and where prices will be around 6 months after the halving. It'll make sense as we actually go through it. The really interesting part, and they even say it in the article, is that this prediction, or this projection, if you will, comes from a company who had a bunch of data and they compiled it together and then they ended up using it. But their charts are already off because they were expecting Bitcoin's price, like many other companies, to be lower than it currently is right now. So you were like even above or ahead of schedule for a lot of the price projections. That is to say, you might remember at the beginning of this year, 2024, we had a number of companies who were like, yeah, Bitcoin will probably maybe finish the year at 50,000, and then we have to wait to 2025 for a brand new all-time high. And then we had other companies who were like, we can maybe, Bitcoin maybe might go to 70,000 by December. And then you look at the prices now and you go, so where are we going to be in December if we've already come this far? The company is called Coin Ledger, not affiliated with the other one, I assume. Coin Ledger has predicted that Bitcoin's price could reach 360,000 US dollars 1 year after its 2024 halving. This sits very close to the other numbers that we've had before. I want to say the last 5 predictions for 2025 have relatively revolved around 300, 320, and $350,000. So 360 is near spot on to where those other numbers are, except for the, as always, slightly interesting $600,000 Bitcoin price prediction that we also got. This is based on an analysis of price movements following previous halving events, once again looking for patterns. According to the findings shared by the crypto tax service provider CoinLedger, the study focused on the outcomes of past halvings to estimate Bitcoin's future price. It's logical. We don't have hundreds of years worth of data for Bitcoin. We have 15 years. It's typically not a lot to go on, but we have seen before that there are patterns similar to every 4 years when we have the halving. We know that after the halving, prices move up. It lasts for about a good 16 to 18 months. Prices fall down. Everyone gets depressed. It happens for 2 years. Prices go back up again. It's these like market movements and momentum that we consistently see over and over. Therefore, it says by averaging the post-halving price increases observed in 2012, 2016, and 2020, CoinLedger provided a forecast for Bitcoin's potential valuation in the year following the scheduled 2024 halving event. They said, and I quote, in 2016, the price on the halving, that's terrible. I wish I had a time machine. It says in 2016, the price on the day of the halving was $650. After 3 months, it went up to $722. Fantastic. That's a 10.9% increase. In 2020, the price rose from even 8,000 sounds nice. The price rose from 8,572 to 11,393 within 3 months. An increase of 32.9. Do you remember when? I remember when. Remember when the price fell down to like 8,000 something because every single market was tumbling? And I remember so many people, this is my recollection. I remember a lot of people not buying Bitcoin. I was reading on Twitter, they said, because it was like catching a falling dagger almost. Like it was something like, just don't do it. No one buy, no one buy. And I was like, no one's going to buy when Bitcoin's prices didn't it fall down to like 6,000? I think it fell down. Like I remember being something completely insane as prices were tumbling. And I think Ethereum also went down to $80. I'm certain of it. I'm actually certain of that number because I remember seeing $80 Ether and I was like, should I buy? Am I buying right now? Am I going to buy? Should I wait? And I remember it like went up a tiny bit and I was like, I cannot wait. I literally can't wait anymore. Bitcoin went from 8,500 to 11,393. Within 3 months, that's an increase of 32%. They said the average increase across these two events is 21%, cool, which would mean that in 2024, 3 months after Bitcoin's halving, the price could rise to $84,145. But here's the kicker. This is based off of their analysis, and they based this off of a Bitcoin price of $69,000 at the time of the halving. They weren't expecting Bitcoin to have passed by its previous all-time high until the date of the halving. Another 4 weeks. And we've already passed by that multiple times over. A lot of the news right now is that people are expecting roughly around an $85,000 Bitcoin by the halving. I think a lot of people are trying to be as conservative as possible. I think, once again, it's not that people don't want pie on their face. I think it's more so everyone's a bit curious as to where this is going to go. It's abundantly clear that we are going to pass by 100,000. It's written in the blockchain stars. But it's more of a when kind of thing. Because we could, and I mean in complete bull run halving hype fashion, we could completely breeze by $85,000 in about a good 2.5 weeks. We get to the halving, we could be at $93,000 just based off of pure energy, speculation, and everyone completely losing their minds. They were basing this off of Bitcoin's price at $69,000 on the day of the halving. We're already beyond that. So does that mean that we get to their new numbers an $87,000 Bitcoin. This is also, once again, the thing with history in the cryptocurrency space is that thus far, every halving, every year, every cycle has had something hyper different from the last. 2016 was like this, can Bitcoin do it again kind of thing. Bitcoin hit 1,200 before. Everyone was like, well, it's a clear one-trick pony. It's never going to happen again. Bitcoin goes back to 1,200. Everyone goes, okay, cool. Now let's see where it ends up going from there. 2017 and the end of the beginning of 2016 were the entire ICO hype. People realized how much money there was to make in this space. People understood what Bitcoin was, or at least were beginning to. They understood what a halving was, the actual predictability of the price cycles, and the actual deflationary nature of Bitcoin. 2020, the world went insane, and this is why the prices didn't follow the other things in the other track records that we saw before. This is why we did not go over $100,000 Bitcoin. I don't have to go into why, you completely understand. Every single halving has been marked by one significant event or another. Constantly. 2020, 12, 2013 was around, like, I think that was the Mt. Gox time as well. So everything has always had something really intense. We have not thus far had a situation where we had ETFs. The market has always been relatively easy to get into, but we've always had people complaining about the uneasiness of being able to get into the market. Now we have ETFs. I don't know if you just saw, we had a day where the actual inflows into the ETFs was over $1 billion. $1 billion. Do you understand how much $1 billion is? And I mean, not the concept of a billion. To have $1 billion to flow into any market in one day is completely insane. You know how long, that the concept of a unicorn company, when they have a $1 billion valuation, it takes these companies sometimes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years to be able to get to that valuation. For that amount of money, that would take sometimes a decade for some companies to be able to acquire, to amass, to have the valuation of, to go into Bitcoin in one day. This tells me that we are definitely going to have $1 million Bitcoin. I'm not sure if you believe, if you don't believe, if the numbers don't make any sense to you. But I'm here to tell you right here and now, we are going to live in a world where Bitcoin is over $1 million per coin. I don't know how to break that to you. I'm sorry for those of you who are shocketh right now. The other movements that took place, and these are all valuations that took place after the halving. Remember how I said before that we did not get to the actual previous all-time high until months later. In 2012, after the halving, the previous all-time high for Bitcoin before was 1,200. This was still 50% of what it was before. It took 3 months, still didn't get anywhere near the previous all-time high. And this is after the halving. We have not had our halving yet. If it went up by 10% after this halving, months after, if this went up by, what was the other one? 32%, 3 months after that halving, where is our price going to go? Keeping in mind, 2020 was a panic-filled year, which felt like 5 years in just 1 year. No one was in the market really in 2016. It was just retail people. If we see that these companies have accumulated more than 300,000 Bitcoin in 5 or 6 weeks, MicroStrategy's still buying a huge, massive amount of Bitcoin all the time. All these other companies have also just recently announced that they're also going to be getting debt incurred against their company as well to also buy huge amounts of Bitcoin. This is billions of dollars flowing from the outside. And then you also have the $1 billion flowing into the ETFs every single week. Where are we 3 months after this halving, we've passed by the previous all-time high by several $1,000s. By the time we get to the halving, as I've said before, I can totally see it. And I think it sounds insane to a lot of people. I can see us being over 90,000, like being on like being a smidge, tiny little smidge away from 100K at the halving. Like literally, bam, the halving happens. If the price historically always, I'm telling you, wait, you are going to have, you don't understand what's coming. You are going to wake up and you've made money. And the concept of it is going to be completely insanely foreign because it's going to continue for a year for you. A year and some change. You're going to be like, what is happening every single day? If 3 months after the halving, the average is 21.95, fantastic. That's before ETFs. That's before billion-dollar inflows. That's before, even if you want to drag it back, that's before. We've been having multiple days where the inflows were $500 million into the ETFs. And that's the ones that people pay attention to are BlackRock and Fidelity. Remember the other ETFs around the world? They're also seeing like record amounts of money flowing into them as well. Remember all the other rich people we've been talking about who are buying up Bitcoin? They're still doing it daily as well. There's literally not a lot of Bitcoin left. We just had news for those of you who missed it. The numbers apparently for the actual amount of Bitcoin that's missing and gone forever is over 7 million coins now. That leaves 12 million coins for 8 billion people. And we know that there's not 12 million coins available. Just simply based off of the actual math. At this current rate, BlackRock and Fidelity will have over 1 million Bitcoin by July or August. 2 companies, 1 million Bitcoin by July and August. We've never had this before. We've never had this intensity in the market. Even if we only did a 20% jump after the halving, are we then by July, August looking at $125,000 Bitcoin? Remember the numbers that we had before based off of the other lower projections. When BlackRock and Fidelity, what was it? I think when they had around $300 to $400 million in daily inflows into their ETFs. Oh gosh, what were the numbers? Yes. When they had $300 and $400 million in daily inflows that were going into their ETFs, they were then buying 13 times, 13x times more Bitcoin that was being created per day. When the halving happens, if they had stayed at those previous numbers, they would be accumulating 26 times the amount of Bitcoin that's being created. 26 times per day. Do you understand what that means? Imagine there's one tree, for the sake of dystopian argument. There's one tree on the planet. It's filled with apples. Every day, those apples fall to the ground and brand new ones sprout. It's magic. Don't dig too deep into it. You look up, and for some reason, there's one company who has 26 barrels full of apples when only one tree is creating those apples. 26 times more than is being created per day. They're literally going around the world and buying other apples from people. 26 times per day. 26x. And that was with the numbers of $300 to $400 million per day. Now riddle me this. If they're already at $1 billion inflow per day, that already puts us well beyond the 26x. After the halving happens, more money flows like crazy into the market. Are we going to have a situation where BlackRock and Fidelity alone are accumulating 52 times the amount of Bitcoin that's being created per day? Abso-freaking-lutely. We haven't counted in the other ETF issuers and suppliers who were also seeing record inflows every single day. People are paying attention to the Fidelity and the BlackRock because they have the big boy numbers. They have the 400, $600 million per day. The other companies, they may only have 8 million, 12 million, 24 million. That adds up really freaking fast. And that's still not counting the other countries, the other institutions. That's not counting you. That's not counting the rich people who don't want to be on TV, who don't want to be in public. We get a lot of news all the time about MicroStrategy buying up. For those of you who dismiss it, MicroStrategy just bought another 14,000 Bitcoin. That was literally a 13x in one day of what was actually being created. You don't hear about the other, for those of you who have ever come into contact with like very wealthy people, they're very silent people. They don't let you know what they're doing. They are very hush hush into themselves. There are people out there who are buying millions of dollars of Bitcoin every single day, and they're not telling people. Remember I told you before, we know this for a fact, years ago, Jack Dorsey was like, he has multiple apps and different websites that he uses to buy Bitcoin. And he says he maxes them out every single day. He says he says he will never stop buying Bitcoin, and he uses multiple apps because they have like daily restrictions on how much money he can buy. So we can only assume he's buying 5, 10, a dozen or more Bitcoin per day. That's just Jack Dorsey. Where is our price going to go by the halving? 3 months after the halving, the price is going to be up. 3 months after the halving. That is May, June, July. How much more accumulation has happened? How much more in the news do we have that these companies are continuing to buy an astronomical amount of Bitcoin? Just the companies. Bitcoin's supply has been cut in half. There's not a lot left. How much more are you buying? How much more are your cousins buying? How much more are your family members buying? How many more new wallets that we have every single day who are like, I need to have at least 1 million Satoshis. You have 100 new wallets in a day, all buying up 1 million Satoshis. That's an entire Bitcoin gone. And that's 3 months after the halving. Where are we by October? Where are we by December? For those of you who haven't been here for a halving year Thanksgiving, for those of you who do celebrate Thanksgiving, even if you don't, just wait for it. What ends up happening is, and we've seen before, there tends to also be a bit of a Thanksgiving rally. The idea is people see their families in the States for Thanksgiving, and you always have that one cousin or that one friend or one family member who sits there and they tell everyone how much money they made over the course of the last couple of months. And before, in the past, this was before people even knew about Bitcoin. So you would have people sitting there. I don't know what a Bitcoin is, but I want one. They sit there and they tell their family, yeah, I made about $38,000 the last couple of months from the market. Everyone's jaws drops. The next day or even that evening, we see prices going up because people have been telling their family how much money they've made. And that's in November. By December, how much more have prices risen? How much more accumulation has happened? By this point, we'd have ETF issuers holding 1.2, 1.3 million Bitcoin. ETF issuers, just people from the ETFs. Don't forget, Tether is also buying. Binance is also buying. Coinbase is also buying. The Gemini twins are also buying. Did you think that these companies were simply dealing in Bitcoin and not accumulating for themselves? Did you forget, for those of you who don't know, Tether announced, this was during one of their quarterly profit reports. They made, I think it was several $1 billion in profits from one quarter, just from the user fees, from people using their network, like the actual transaction fees. And I think they announced that they would be using 15%, I think it's 15%. Every quarter, not once a year, Every quarter, they're using 15% of their billions of dollars that they're making to buy Bitcoin. What's happening right now is insane. And I want all of you to really like absorb it and like breathe it in that we're going through all of this together. I can't put into words how excited I am for the halving, because I really want everyone to completely understand the madness that's going to take hold of the market, that's going to take hold of you, how much money that you're going to make. It's not me trying to hype it up. Listen, I told you since the beginning of the year, look back at all the videos. Once again, I cannot ever, what's the word? I can't tell you what to do with your money. But gosh darn it, if you didn't hear me when Bitcoin was at 40,000 and I was like, hey, the halving's coming up. The halving's coming up. These companies keep buying a lot of Bitcoin. There's not a lot left. And then we got to the brand new all-time high. And I was like, I hope you were all paying attention, because it's only going to get crazier. It's only going to get more insane from here. We've seen nothing. We're not at the halving yet. Six months following the 2016 halving, Bitcoin's value climbed to $986. It took 6 months, and it still did not hit the previous all-time high. We're in literal uncharted territory right now. This marked a 51% increase from the halving day price of $650. If we went up by 51%, by my guesstimates, we'd be at $135,000 to $150,000 plus by around winter time. Similarly, in 2020, the cryptocurrency saw its price jump to $15,702 6 months post-halving, reflecting an 83% surge. Why is this number significant? 15,000. Because it's still not the 20,000 that we saw from before. Bitcoin normally does not hit its previous all-time high until a year after the halving. We would need to literally, 2 weeks ago, we hit $69,000. This normally would not happen until January or February of 2025. Do you understand what's happening to the market right now? Oh, even more so for you altcoin lovers out there. These numbers that you're seeing on the screen are for Bitcoin. 51%. Why is that significant? Because the altcoins always outperform Bitcoin. Always, always, always. You might have seen the last couple of weeks. You see that Bitcoin's price is up by 7, 8, 9, 10%. Altcoins are up by 18, 31%. When we see Bitcoin's price producing these 51% returns, altcoins will be up several hundred, if not thousands of percent. This is why they call it alt season or altcoin season, whatever word you kind of want to throw it out there. During every bull run, Bitcoin's dominance falls comparative to the altcoins because there's so many more of them. They need less money to pump them up. But comparatively, what ends up happening is that a lot of people rush into our market and they see how high Bitcoin's price is and they go, I want something a little bit cheaper. So they start buying altcoins, and altcoins completely lose their minds. I saw a bunch of speculation that even by the halving, a lot of people are expecting Ethereum's price to also breach $5,000. I think it's somewhere. There's also this article right here. People are calling for a $5,000 Ether. Just talking about the network's usage, the upgrade, the Deneb Cancun upgrade, more transactions per second, not even the perception of the actual ETFs that could potentially be. It is literally just the actual movements of the market right now and what Ether has been doing. Oh, also right here, 600,000 addresses purchased 1.6 million Ether. recently as well. Like, this is, of course, happening also behind the scenes. We're probably more than likely going to see a $10,000 Ether over the course of this year. Like, you literally don't know what's coming. And I am so excited that we all get to experience this together, because normally I always see that, of course, like, there's new subscribers and new people who enter the market as the market ends up going up a lot more. Cool. Logically makes a lot of sense. But you have no idea what's coming for you. You literally don't know what's in store. Yeah, I thought this was fascinating. Obviously. The idea of where prices will be in 3 to 6 months after the halving. The halving is always the turning point. I try not to think that we could go to 200K this year, because it seems so believable. If we get to 80, 90 something thousand in the next 4 weeks, it's completely possible. But then that also drags me back to this idea of a $600,000 Bitcoin. Because while the 3 to 6 months post-halving tend to be absolutely monstrous, the year, like the literal calendar year after the halving, is the juggernaut. It's always this like really insane, everyone looking at themselves and being like, what is happening to the market? That's 3 to 6 months after the halving. Are we getting to $500,000 per coin? What, I mean, logically, sorry for screaming. Logically, if we get to the point where by the end of this year, we're at $150,000 plus and BlackRock and Fidelity own over 1 million Bitcoin, that's 2024. Where's the market in 2027? Where are we in 2029? How little Bitcoin is there actually going around? How many people are like scrounging together to get as many Satoshis as they can in anticipation of Bitcoin 10xing again? A lot is going on. A lot is happening at the exact same time. And this is not even mentioning people also assuming that all markets are going to rise as we have the interest rate cuts. Very, very, and I'm so glad that people do analysis like this and have this information out there so that we can all kind of, share in it together, because this is nuts. We haven't gotten to the halving yet. These are 3 to 6 month projections after the halving. It's always the halving. The price usually tends to trend sideways. The 4 to 5 weeks before the halving, prices go up, but it's like, oh yeah. I saw that 8% move. It doesn't go thousands above the previous all-time high. Yeah. Oh boy. I'm wondering as well, this is also going to be, I think, the kicker for a lot of people as to where, and I mean specifically, like, once again, like Cardano and XRP. I think a lot of people are looking at those coins and wanting them to move up more. I have a feeling things probably won't go insane for a lot of different altcoins until, as always, after the halving. I think Ethereum's on a whole different boat by itself now. The upgrades, the updates, all these other things happening, all these things happening as well on Polygon and stuff like that. And yeah, we are in for a wild ride is a complete understatement. Oh boy, I didn't mean to rant and rave, but I mean, can we just look at the actual facts and just be logical here? Something crazy is happening. Like, we've entered like the point of no return where rich people like control this market and they're not going to let it go. They're going to ride this into the millions of dollars per Bitcoin. This is why we're seeing this level of accumulation right now. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, and supporting. And I hope, and I don't say this in a cheesy manner, I hope you all become wealthy. Like, that's not even a joke. Like, I literally hope you make so much money that it scares you. I'm not even joking. Thank you all once again, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you.